do this. Okay.
It's like 67 feet.
So we got y equals 1 over x, right? And x naught is -5. And delta x is equal to dx, which is equal to 3, which means the change in x is going to be 3, which means I'm going to come over 3. If I come over 3, right, that means it's going to end up at -2. So this is where we're looking, that's all, right? It's getting our base from where we're looking and how we're looking at the tangent line. Remember, the tangent line we're looking for is here. Now we don't know the slope, so I'm not going to write it, but at this initial point, this is your initial point for your tangent line, okay? But to do that, we need to start by starting this, instead of y equals, we're going to call it f of x. I think this helped us on the last equation. So f of x equals 1 over x, and then we're going to adjust that. We're going to say, hey, let's rewrite the x so that it's up in the top, right? So we can do the derivative nice and neat. So we got f of x is equal to, remember there's a 1 here, so we're going to take this and bring it up, which means I'm going to have x to the -1. The 1 goes away because 1 times anything is itself. So, anyways, okay, I don't die. Sausages. All right, here we go. So that's our derivative, right? Oh no, yeah, that is our derivative. No, that's our normal. So now we got to take the derivative. So to find f prime of x, we're going to go the power rule, right? So we have -1 times x, then take 1 away from that, that gives us -2, right? So now we're going to rewrite this f prime of x so that we can use, for our slope, we can use it as dy dx is equal to, and remember this goes down now, so we're going to go -1, so 1 comes back.
It goes down because it's a negative, right?
Huh?
Does it go down because it's a negative? Or
Yeah.
Just goes down.
So we're just going to take it down and make it positive. Does that make sense? And then we can deal with it a little easier, all right?
Ow.
Now, to find the slope, right? To find dy, right? So we know what dx is. Dx is the same as the change in x, right? So we already know that dx is equal to 3, which is right here. Right? Now we're going to plug that number in, right? And we're going to look, we won't plug the number in yet. But right now we want to plug in the dx, which is 3, okay? So we want dy over 3, right, is equal to -1. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, well that's fine. The x naught is black, right? So we're going to plug that x naught in as -5 squared, right? Okay? And then we're going to solve this equation for dy. Did I hit? Is it okay? Go on. Alright, so I'm going to solve the equation, basically multiply both sides by 3, right? So I get dy is equal to -3 over 25. Correct?
Yes.
Alright, so and then when you throw that in the calculator, you get -0.12. So or negative 0.12. Okay? And that's your dy. Okay?
Cool.
So, now we know how much we're changing, right? So that's what this part is, right here. So how far are we changing? We're changing dy. So we're changing by 0.12. If I come down now, when I'm talking about here at negative 5, I plug that in. So for, let's just do that in black. F of negative 5 is equal to 1 over negative 5, right? Because basically, we could also look at that as or negative 0.2, which is right here. If I come down the dy, which is negative 0.12, I'm going to come down a little bit past the 0.3, right? 0.2 past it, right? Does that make sense? So I'm coming down to about, right about here.
How do you find negative 1?
Again. And that's going to give me my slope. Okay? So that's my slope of the tangent line. Right?
Why did you circle negative 2?
Yeah, I don't see why you circle negative 2 here.
Negative 0.2.
No, you circled negative 2.
Oh! Because when I add 3 to negative 5, what do I get? So that's where we're at. We're at the negative 0.2. And what I need to know, right, eventually is like, well, we know what dy is, but we want to know the change in y, right? So they want to know the change in y. And the change in y, or delta y, delta y, is equal to, and that's when we're doing the function with respect to negative 2, right? The function with respect to negative 2 minus the function with respect to negative 5. And when we throw those numbers into the equation, right?
Wait, so do we have to write that right there?
Yeah, we need this piece
Well,
to
I'm
finish. Oh, this?
Yeah. I'm gonna write it.
I would write it. I mean, what it does for me is it just lets me know what that is. So right away, I know that this is this, right? Wait.
No.
I know that this is this, right?
Huh?
That the function with respect to negative 5 is 1 over negative 5, right? Which is negative 0.2, right? And so that's what this is,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
right? And so we want to do it in fractions first, and then we want to transfer it back to decimal, okay? So we have it in fractions first, so that is minus 1/5, right? Okay? Now the other one is, well, f with respect to 2. Sorry, my pen's dead. Different one. F of x with respect to negative 2, which would be 1 over negative 2, right?
Is that a negative 5 or?
Yeah, negative 5. So then this is really this guy, right? So when we plug this into this function, we get 1 over negative 2. Okay? So delta y is now equal to 1 over negative 2 minus 1 over negative 5. And then we gotta make sure that those fractions are the same, right? So we're gonna multiply this by 5 over 5, and we'll multiply this by 2 over 2, right? And so then I get 5 over 10. Negative minus makes a plus, and I get 2 over 10, right? Okay? So delta y is equal to that. So then I should get delta y is equal to negative 3 over 10. Because 5 minus 2 is, or negative 5 plus 2 is negative 3, right?
Wait, that's negative 5, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I had the negative down below, but we could have it up above. It doesn't matter where it goes. We just know that the whole fraction is negative, right? So a negative 5/10 plus a positive 2/10 is going to give me a negative 3/10, right? And that's delta y. Now another way we could write that is what? Negative 0.3, right? Okay? And then if we check, hopefully this time we did it right the first time. 18. So then we know that this whole difference right here is delta y. Okay? And that whole difference, okay, is down 0.3. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we came down 3 points. So 1, 2, we were at 2, so we came down 1, 2, 3, so we should be at negative 0.5, or yeah,
Cut.
but you know, exactly. My
One of these days for the outro, you should like make it as the Warner Bros. How they did it.
like a cut. Like that?
No.
Like what? Like Scooby Dooby Doo?
I don't remember the lyrics to it, but Lamont does.
Lamont, what's the lyrics? Break it down.
You're happy or something or something.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
See me.
Clap, clap.
5.
High five.
Cut. Get that shit out of here.